She has been a Secretary General of LDP. We remember LDP? She's been the Executive Director of a political party. She's been a director in NAC Elections Board. And then she's been in Party Elections Board. She's a former trainer of Women League, the League of Women Lawyers, Women League and Youth League in terms of voting. So you can see she has a wide experience, and therefore thank you so much for gracing and coming this afternoon to share your experience, knowledge in these areas. So thank you very much, ladies. We are talking about political parties, the formation, the recruitment, and their role in advancing women political participation. The key thing here, we want to know, how can political parties advance the women's political participation in all sectors? Because our theme here is to actually ensure that we have more women in the coming 2022 elections. So, Anne, if I may ask, the recruitment of political party membership is ideally supposed to be a continuous process. Suggestions have been made, several suggestions. I think I heard yesterday on radio somebody saying we should use our Huduma numbers to be placed for registration. But I want to ask, are there structures in place that ensure that political parties adhere to the 2/3 gender rule in their formation, in their management, in their recruitment, and to a large extent, in the utilization of the political parties' fund, knowing that the funds also for improving and enhancing the participation of women?
Thank you, and thank you for inviting us to this panel. I probably would want to start answering that question from a perspective of data. What is actually there as far as the participation of women in registration as members of political parties? Currently, we have a total of 75 fully registered political parties and about 21 that are professionally registered. We have a membership register of slightly above 18 million who are members of political parties. Out of the 18 million, about 8 million are women, and about close to 11 million are men. So that translates to about 39% of the register having women, and the rest then being men. The other very critical data that it is important for us to look at is how women spread as officials of political parties. Currently, out of the 75 political parties, only 6 have party leaders who are women. There are only about 5 who are chairmen of political parties, and about 10 who are secretary generals, and about 35 or so who are treasurers. Those are the key positions that somebody can hold in a political party. So looking at that data alone tells you that we are still below par as far as participation of women in political party leadership especially is concerned. And it's something that we really need to, when we are having this conversation, to think then how do we increase the women participation, especially in leadership. Because as it is correctly said, participation and to create spaces to be where the decision making, around the decision making table. The decision-making table of a political party depends on the officials at that particular time. So it's to bring women to the decision-making table and allow those women then to participate in how allocation of seats and how nomination processes are done, and how then that translates to participation of the rest of the women who could be at the grassroots level. Then coming to the question of the Political Parties Fund also. The criteria is well set out in the Political Parties Act, Section 25 and 26, that for a party to qualify, among other criteria, is that it should have brought on board elected leaders who are in the category of special interest groups. These include women, persons with disability, the youth, and the marginalized. And when we are calculating the allocation of Political Parties Fund, we use 15% of the Political Parties Fund to cater for that particular category. And it is expected when this money goes to a political party, then a political party should use that specific 15% to promote the agenda of women, to promote the agenda of all special interest groups, and then to be able to create a presence in the grassroots and mobilize issues around special inclusion, special interest groups, and the inclusion in generally speaking. So the question of whether we are doing well, yeah, we have made some significant progress, because having 10, if you comparably do data analysis, you are going to see having 10 also Secretary Generals who are women, and Secretary General being quite a significant and influential position, then it says probably then we are making some progress. But I don't think we have measured up even to the constitutional provision of not more than 2/3 gender rule. We may have done so in membership, but given the statistics and comparing the 2019 census, which puts women and men at 50% and slightly women more, then it says that as a population of women, then we are not really measuring up even to the provision of the Constitution. And it probably is something we need to work around as we move towards 2022. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. And Anne has basically given us what the reality is, that we are not doing so well. We may be moving some steps, but we're not doing so well. So we need to think, how do we make it better the next time? So keep your questions, please, if you're out there. We will be having a session of question and answer, so we will ask us some more questions then. The next panelist is Mumbi. Mumbi, you've been there in all these organizations and parties, party mergers and coalitions, as well as negotiated democracy, usually maybe in other areas of this country, favors male candidates and narrows the overall political space, and most of the participation of women candidates. What are political parties doing? Because you work closely to ensure that women participation is not narrowed down, or what can be done by political parties to ensure that in as much as we're having mergers and coalition, the participation of women is not narrowed. And secondly, how are parties growing their resources then to help women who are vulnerable to participate in political processes? But one, coalition issues, how do we make sure that really women are not disadvantaged?
Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you very much, FIDA, for inviting me to this forum. I got an invitation, I think, a day before yesterday. And because of vote Adada, I said I'll keep this day aside from my other engagements to make sure that I come also and learn. Like you say, I've been there for long. I don't know whether I'm a good politician, but I know that I am not a good politician, because a good politician listens to the ground. It is not very intelligent to belong to an ODM party and then you are from Central Province or the mountain region. That doesn't make you a very intelligent politician. That said, I still believe that I believe in something, and though I don't scream about it, I think as women, we can take the opportunity to make the difference. When we had Akina Fibia CEO, Akina Nyiva Mwendwa, Akina Wangari Maathai, they were across board. They didn't believe only in their communities. And there must be something different that they did. And my generation, which is immediately after them, there's something that we missed. We've been trying to look for it, and from a very personal view, politics, especially in women, have not changed. We have become tribal. We are tribal. I'll give you an example about last night. I was sitting with my community in a neighborhood where we lost somebody. And I was not sitting with ordinary people. I was sitting with people who went to school and got the accolades that people get in school. And the first thing they say to me is that person of yours. Do you know who that person of yours is? It is Honorable, Right Honorable Raila Odinga. And they told me, because we know you work for him. By the way, I'm the political advisor in his office. So that makes it even worse. Go and tell him not to stand in 2022. Let him be a kingmaker. And because he has been one before. And he can help us. Now, listen to that one. He can help us as Mount Kenya to negotiate for a second position in the incoming government. And my colleague women who were there looked at the sneer on my face, and they said, you don't mention that to Mombi. You know, when you talk about Raila Odinga in front of Mombi, she will not take you kindly. I said, no, that's not what I'm sneering at. But let me tell you what I'm sneering at. You are asking Right Honorable Raila to help you get number 2? They told me yes. And asked them, what for? You have number 1. You have had number 1. You are treating it like a rag. You have had it 9 years. You are insulting your president. I didn't vote for him. And now you don't even know who he is. And you are looking for number 2 to do what with number 2? And they were all shocked. That was the end of the discussion. The reason I'm saying this is because we must ask ourselves as women, are we just getting the women we need to vote inside there to be the flower girls that we are called? Or is it somebody who can look at them and tell them what it is? Having been in a political party, I will tell you without any fear of contradiction that political parties are all the same. You can count the one, we've just been given some numbers. We have 6 women party leaders and 5 women chairpersons and SGs and all that kind of thing. I will say this, and I'm not slighting anybody. Those political parties belong to individuals. They belong to individuals. Unfortunately, with political party funding, they should have been opened up to scrutiny. But my sister, get inside there, find out who controls the political party funding. Does it really go to women? And if it goes to women, who elects those women who head that department. So there are quite a number of issues, and I think in a forum like this one, the truth must be told. And as we start the voter data, I will appeal to my colleagues, women, that before you get into a political party, if you're just getting there because it's the party leader is a woman and you like her, the party leader is a man from your community, and you're looking for your space, you are wasting our time. And now, I have traveled throughout the very many counties that we have in this country. And I hear women want to vie. When you ask them why they want to vie, they tell me straight to my face, because I want to be in the list of nominations. You know, in the next elections, you will not be nominated if you have not vied. I say this one with a lot of respect. If that's why women are getting into to look for those positions, we've lost even before we started. We have lost before we've started. I had the opportunity of serving in the East African Legislative Assembly for 5 years. And I had an opportunity to serve with women from Rwanda. Everyone in this room knows that Rwanda tops the list in the world of women in politics and women in leadership positions. I needed to learn from them. And what I learned, I can share without any reservation, is that the leadership of that country, the political leadership of that country, has gone out of their way to include women. That must be emphasized. In the East African region, Kenya is the least when it comes to percentages. Uganda, Tanzania, Burundi are all ahead of us. Yet, I will say it with a lot of pride, that one woman in this room is equivalent to 10 women from those other countries. Give it to yourselves. You are very good. You are very good. And I think the struggle that we have gone through has made us strong. The fight has made us come out and bring out the best in us. That doesn't mean that we don't look for the space. But if we have to get the political goodwill in political parties, in government, we will get there. But my dear sisters, the honor is on us. We need also to evaluate ourselves. That is another something that I learned from my other colleagues. If Honorable Kajuju is better than I am in a particular area, let me support her in that. Let her also look for my strength and support me where I am strong. But we find ourselves looking for one area of let's say, a position of a member of parliament, but we don't have what it takes, and one of us has it. And instead of us surrounding that one woman, we pull ourselves apart. Unfortunately, I hear in another forum they are called our oppressors. I laughed because of that. They know where we are weak. And therefore they will continue making sure that they put us in a mix where there is Honorable Kayuyu and there is Honorable Mombi and another one. And they will get the different messages from, give them different messages to the voters outside there. And then we are told, oh, women hate each other. If you wanted to vote one of your own, you would. What we have not realized is that I am alone where I am, and you are alone where you are. And those of us who have broken a particular ceiling, we sit in front of you. We talk like, you know, we have had it all. Sometimes we don't tell you that we have cried. We must talk about the tears that we have cried. We have to talk about the marginalizations, even inside those political parties. We must talk about the truth that hurts, from a very individual level to a family level to even a community level. And I will give an example of how about my own self. Allow me to say it. I have never been in a Central Province compliant party. So that makes me a rebel, you know? And the first thing, especially when I became the first woman mayor of Thika, and there was celebration. There was a big party in my house. And the family where I am married had a representative who was going to speak on behalf of the family. And I want to quote that person verbatim. When they stood up, they said, you have come to celebrate Mama Gedenji. That's what they call me. But to us, she's just our woman. And whenever she gets past that gate, we don't see those mayor things. So we want to remind her that when we come here, she will still be who we don't want those titles here. My mother, who passed on 2 months ago, told me after that, you are in problems. She predicted you are in problems. And I said, okay. I packed that one, but I have overcome. Then you move up, you become a Secretary General of a political party that is not Central Province compliant. And by the way, I'm married for 41 years. So they go and tell my husband, so who is the man in your house? You mean she's the Secretary General even in your house? If she was not, as a Kikuyu man, wouldn't you say, I don't want this party in my house? Now, it has affected me at a family level. And it has affected me individually because you become a person in conflict. Now, at the community level, it went beyond and affected even my own mother. I remember she was attacked one night. Her house was broken into because she has not managed to talk to her elder daughter to leave this party of people who are not circumcised. And they're talking to my mother. To cut a long story short, that my conviction of being in a political party of my choice has affected my mother, has affected my family, has affected the community I live around with. That somebody who has lived with me for over 41 years in the place where I live, and I have not left my house, my area, I've lived in the same house for 41 years. Somebody introduces me, oh, huyu ni Mheshimiwa Mombi yule wa ODM. And they have known me for 41 years. ODM was formed 15 years ago. What was Mombi before 15 years ago? So if you are not able to understand who you are, to know that believing in a political party is like being in a religion. Nobody asked me whether I'm a Catholic or an Anglican or whatever. But we have made political parties an issue that is not of choice, it's not about policy, it's not something about where you think a political party carries the aspirations of a community. Why am I giving this example? It's because even after we do a vote for, we vote for every woman that we see is able, I think we need to interrogate ourselves. I have one bias. Where there is a woman, I am discouraging my male counterparts, even in our own political party, please don't go and fight that woman. And if she has issues, please tell us about those issues. We shall talk with her. We will capacitate her so that we don't leave those spaces empty. But then I am reminded, but she came because there was space. That's why she doesn't perform on the ground. And I remind them. I have had members of parliament who are men, even in county assemblies, who have not uttered a word, one word, what we call maiden speech in parliament, Honorable Kajuju. They've never uttered a word. But we encourage ourselves that that is our Mheshimiwa and we are going to take him back. But for a woman, it's, she gets all the names. So we are dealing with this animal called patriarchal, and we are dealing with ethnicity. And when we just to conclude about the coalition formation, and where women, where are they in the equation? I'm going to give you an insider's view. So the coalitions are formed. Who are at the table? And how do you get invited to the table? I will mention 2 or 3 things. You have to have something that you bring to the table. And we talk about numbers. This time it's not about voters' numbers. It's ethnic mobilization. Crucify me if you want, but that is a fact. The other crucial and something that is considered on the table is the money, the cash. How much are you going to bring to the table? You all know the sources of those monies, and you know where it is got from. How many of you will really agree to the fact that you are willing to do what is done to acquire the kind of monies that is brought on board? I don't know, but very few of you would. The last one that is never talked about, we all know it. It is talked about. We are used as women to come to that table with another extra something that I am not going to talk about here. But when you call us for something that is not for public consumption, I will talk about it, because that is another aspect of us political parties. It also happens in churches, it happens in corporate world, it happens everywhere. But under that aspect, you find that our representatives there are weak. They lose their negotiating skills and capacity because they become tools. And that is an aspect that we need to talk to ourselves about and know how are we going to handle it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mheshimiwa. Some of the things you're saying, I think people just think about it out there, but we don't really know the deepest part of it is how political parties, as we look at them, sometimes they may not encourage that much in terms of women participation. Honorable Kajuju, I know you've been a member of parliament through a political party, nominated through a party. Are political parties short-lived in this country? And can the political class, through the law, adopt structured and thematic political parties that do not go beyond one electoral cycle? Can we have long-lasting political parties as old as the Democrats and the Republicans? How can women be part of the formation of this area of the coalitions? She has talked about it. She has said women are the weaker end, but how can they become better at being part of that table? And lastly, has CAJ dealt with any of the cases of malpractice in political parties that did facilitate and enhance women engagement in political parties? Have there been any issues arising out of issues of information and others that would actually help women in terms of participating come the next general election and beyond?
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, each and every one of us here present. Thank you again for this opportunity to be able to speak to ourselves, to our sisters, wherever they are today. I begin today on a celebratory mood because we start off as women who have a president in the East African region. So it is doable, it is possible for us to be part and parcel of the political process in this country as well. We begin today this journey with a Chief Justice who is a woman for the first time in this country. So we have one arm of government being led by a woman. So I believe as we move forward, we are going to do better because this is the season for women. Now, various issues have been put across in as far as political parties are concerned. I believe it is true that political parties in this country, in most of the times, are short-lived. And this has been stated by my colleague, Mheshimiwa Mumbi, because most of the times, from what I've seen from my experience, political parties are owned by individuals. They are personalized, and therefore it becomes a personal or private property. For you, therefore, to gain membership, you must be able to play the tune. And as they say, you pays the piper, calls for the tune. So you'll see that in situations where parties are present in this country, most of the times they are private entities that everyone who then is a member must go by what the party command instructs. We also have situations where political parties don't have the political stability to be able to stand by their party policies, assuming that the party policies are there in the first place. So there being no party policy, therefore, it means there are no legs to stand on in as far as the party is concerned. We also have financial instability. Most of the parties do not have the financial capacity to be able to regulate and to organize themselves around the party issues. And you find, therefore, when members are not able to make contribution to those parties, then it becomes a challenge for them to survive every one season of elections. We also have challenges in the manner of recruitment. And I think our registrar of political parties has been speaking to that issue, where I've witnessed situations of membership being recruited from M-Pesa shops. You'll find, like when I started my political journey in 2012, when I checked with the registrar of political parties, I was already a member of a certain party, actually GNU. I had not registered as a member of GNU, but when I checked, I was a member of GNU. So I found myself to be a member of GNU when I had not even requested for that registration. So then I had to go and cause the deregistration from that party to the party of choice that I intended to use during my elections in 2012. So this has happened. It's something that is happening even now as we speak. You'll find parties having thousands and thousands of membership, but at the end of the day, most of those people who are registered in those parties are not aware that they're actually members of those parties. From parties, the recruitment of party membership matters a lot, because then it gives the party the loyalty it deserves from its membership. We also find situations where when coalitions are being formed, it's not party members who are called even to make those decisions, because they don't sit on that table. You'll find the owners of the parties will sit across the table, make decisions on behalf of thousands and thousands of members, and then it becomes a party decision. Yet the membership is not part and parcel of the process. So that is also a challenge that I've seen, and that, according to me, becomes an issue, and at the end of the day leads to the fact that parties end up having just one lifespan. And when we get to Parliament as a party, there are promises that you made to the electorates. You come to Parliament on a promissory note that we as a party are going to look at the infrastructure. We as a party are going to look at water provision in the country. We as a party are going to ensure we digitize the entire system of education, and many other promises that we make. But when we get to the reality of the situation, when we get to Parliament, when we get to budget, then we don't live to the promise that we gave the electorate. So that when you come back, even if that party survives that particular duration, then you're coming back to the voters who are so dissatisfied with this party, because so many promises were made, so many representations were made to the people, and not even one of them has been accomplished. So how would you expect this party then to have the same, we promised that kutenda, kusema na kutenda. Other parties promise mabadiliko. Is it mabadiliko? Yeah, many things that we say, but when we get to the reality of it, we don't do it. We don't fulfill that challenge and that promise that we gave to the voters. So all those issues, all those factors considered, then you find parties in this country end up getting short-lived. And then the parties are just a vehicle. In fact, that's what we say. These parties are just a vehicle. You bought a vehicle to take you from Karatina to Nairobi. When you get to Nairobi, you are light and you forget whether the vehicle was KAG or KACH. You don't even care to note the registration number. So the same happens into a party. If I'm dissatisfied, certificate and they get elected, that's the end of story. That's a short-lived marriage. So that now, even the party policy that you're supposed to expound in Parliament, it doesn't really have any meaning as far as you're concerned. So really, parties in this country are just vehicles to take us to our destination. When we get there, there will be other vehicles coming up. Now that the registrar has told us there are 75 vehicles now, I believe by the time we get into elections, there will be more. And they are being registered every other day. We've also witnessed a situation where there's a lot of conflict in ownership of parties. As we speak now, I think there's a conflict on Restore. Now, one person says, this is my party. Another one is claiming that this is my party. We have a conflict in Ford, Kenya, I think. There's so many conflicts and so many cases in court. So how do you expect those parties to survive after the first election? The next one, there'll be different leadership and different ideologies that they'll be believing in. Now, the next issue that you're asking is, are there possible solutions to these challenges? I believe it's we as people, we as the members of that party must be able to believe in the party. Because if you don't believe in that party, then there is no way you can even be able to execute the mandate of the party or be able to live up to the standards that have been set by the party. Of course, the issues of ownership, it's a complicated situation because it comes to with, do we have the money, those who are coming in? Because you'll be asked, how much are you bringing on board for you to claim that you own shares in this party? So that is also a challenge. I think there should be more to ownership of parties than the capacity in terms of the amount of money that you come with. When we get to Parliament, one of the things that I would advise for those who will be there in 2022 is try to see how you can have a parliamentary caucus that is as a formation of the parties. So that it doesn't matter whether it is ODM, it doesn't matter whether it is Jubilee, it doesn't matter whether it's Ford Kenya. When you get to that parliament, you become members of parliament. In a situation like in this country where today we don't have, allow me to say that, we don't have an opposition sort of, who then stands in for the common citizen? Because there are issues that the citizen wants to raise. There are issues the citizen feels that there should be someone who speaks for them. Without an opposition, as it were, it then means most of the issues that are passed in that parliament might not be a proper representation of what the people, of what the citizens expect of their representatives. So it is something that can be in the standing orders as they come in, so that now standing orders in parliament allow for parliamentary formation or parliamentary caucus, so that in the event or in a situation where the opposition joins the ruling coalition, then there should be a shadow formation that can then question whether citizens are getting value for money in terms of representation and whether the members of parliament are doing their part. The other issue is an area where you can recall the membership of a party. If a party is serious on its ideologies and a member then does not behave in a manner to suggest that they are living as per the ideologies of that party, can a party be strong enough to recall its members? And it's not that it's not in law provided. It is there under Article 103(1)(e) of the Constitution that allows someone who has defected or someone who is not living to the party policies, then that a situation where the party can recall or the person can lose their positions. I would also like to note that there is the ethnic mobilization. How do we ensure that parties don't just, they're not like Mheshimiwa said, that party, they refer to someone, because you're in ODM, then they recognize you for that fact. You're identified. You lose your identity as Mombi, their daughter, Bamagedenji. You become that person who belongs to that particular party. Because we want to mobilize parties around our ethnic origins, that is a huge challenge, and I believe we can grow out of it, maybe. And in any event, the registrar will tell you that is not allowed. It is outlawed under Section 7F of the Code of Conduct for political parties. I believe, registrar, it's time that we make sure we implement the laws that are there. When it comes to the challenges that face women, I can tell you for sure there are 1,001 challenges, and we experience them every day. The moment you declare a stand, the moment you say you want to vie for a seat, you are opening yourself. You must be ready for everything, from your bedroom to the outside world. People know how you sleep. They have never stepped in your bedroom, but they'll know how you spent your last night. They'll know whether your husband speaks to you. They'll know whether you have children. They'll know whether you're married from their community. A lady who is married from Nyeri and she gets married in Kiambu, the moment you say that you want to vie in Kiambu, then they want to take you back. You are a lady who has given birth to 3 children. They love the children. They love their son who is your husband. But the moment you declare interest in a political seat, they are planning to take you back to your parents. Or you're being told, go back to where you came from. Go back and vie for a seat in Nyeri, because that's where you were born. So those are some of the issues. We also have challenges, major challenges when it comes to party primaries. I was a major victim of the nomination processes in 2017, being very faithful to our party to a fault, and making sure that whatever the party proposed in Parliament was something that end to pass by way of lobbying and making sure you make your submissions. But all that does not count when it comes to party nominations. You'll find women get extremely challenged for them to get that nomination ticket, and it is damn expensive. So by the time you get the ticket, you are so exhausted. Or if you don't get the ticket, then you jump ship and maybe seek for an independent ticket, which I believe the registrar is. That is also another challenge. Nominations, never take it lightly. But for you then to play even a major role in a party, you still have to be very active in the party politics. We also have other challenges of stigmatization. Women, especially in Northeastern, we've seen the negotiated democracy that was mentioned, and they will sit around a table and agree on who should vie for a particular seat. And in most of those situations, those negotiations don't favor women. The women's seat that happened in 2013 through the Constitution was a blessing and also a curse to some extent. Because when that seat happened and we expressed interest, when we got women who are expressing interest in vying in constituency seats, the clan would sit around and say, "Mko na kiti yenu, kuna kiti ya kina mama." So or what was being said to the members or to the voters was, why would a woman come for a constituency seat, yet kuna kiti ya kina mama? And that is how most of the women lost their seats in the constituencies, because kuna kiti ya kina mama. So out of 9 constituencies in Meru, no woman should vie for a constituency seat in Meru, because we have 1 seat of a woman representative. Very unfortunate, but I think we have to fight and ensure that even at the constituencies, we have the same level of understanding that women can vie for seats. When it comes to the media, and this is where I request FINDA Kenya and even the development partners who are working with you to make sure that coverage of women is across the board, is as equal to each and every candidate as it is for men. Because you'll find the media will always look for the negatives. Even when there's coverage for a woman, most of the times it's the negative bit. That this woman is said to have done this, she was seen late at night. Because she's a candidate, she's being followed up each and every step. If you host a meeting where you discuss the issues and what you intend to do for the electorate, they won't cover that. But the moment there is a negative publicity, it becomes the topic. So media coverage is very important, and I request that now that we've started this conversation, let us bring on board the media. Let's have an MOU with the Media Council of Kenya, with the owners of the media houses, that even women deserve as much coverage as their male counterparts are getting in terms of coverage. We have alliance for women. We've seen that in Meru. In 2007, there was a lady called Flora Terra Egoki. She expressed interest to vie in a seat in Meru, Northimenti, but she was sexually molested, harassed. She encountered men who just were sent to tell her to stop vying for that seat, because apparently it was a man's seat. So thereafter, Flora could not vie. It became impossible. We've had a situation with Anarita Karemi, the first woman to have been elected in a constituency seat in Meru in 1974. Well, she came in through a by-election. The moment she came in, they started looking for a way to bring her down. She was an headmistress of a school in Meru, St. Mary's Egoji. They brought in charges on audit. They said that she had misappropriated 56,000 shillings. At the end of the day, she was convicted for 2 years. As to whether she was guilty or not, the question is, what is it that they brought against her that they couldn't have brought before she became the member of parliament? So you can see in some societies where, especially Meru, which are patriarchal, and I believe most of our societies, most of our communities are patriarchal, they always bring for things that will make a woman come down. Now, with these kind of challenges, you'll find the participation of women has been below par. If I may quote FINDA's own gender analysis, in the year 2017, there were 12,188 contenders, those who came out to vie for seats, men and women. Out of these, 1,333 were women, which represented 11% in as far as the entire contenders were concerned. After the elections were done, there were, out of the 1,862 persons that were elected, only 172 were women, which represented 9% in as far as the women voted in were concerned. This is FIDA's own gender analysis in 2017. The report was published in 2018. So you'll find participation of women has been a challenge all through, and it's something that we need to pick up. On the last issue of what has the CAJ as an institution done, or how are we participating to make the lives of women politicians better? In the year 2020, we have a case of Karen Nyamoita Magara. Karen Nyamoita Magara, I salute that lady. She's an MCA who is nominated to serve in the Kisii County Assembly. Since they were voted in, or elected, or nominated in 2017, there was a circular that was issued by the Commission on Revenue Allocation that every nominated MCA, once they get to the county assembly, they are entitled to the same privileges as the male elected members of the county assembly. But what has been happening across the country? Almost all the nominated lady MCAs were not getting the same privileges. They were entitled to 3 officers employed by the county assembly. They were entitled to office space. They were entitled to a driver. But in Kisii in particular, they never got any of those privileges. They brought that circular from CRA that required the county assembly to allocate funds to the nominated members of the county assembly. It was not respected. They went to court in Kisumu. They sued the county assembly. The court filed in their favor and said that they must respect the circular and they must provide the privileges as just like the other members of the county assembly. The court order was not complied with by the leadership of the county assembly. Karen came to the commission. She filed a complaint with us. We decided that it is time to step into that assembly and be able to resolve this long-standing dispute. That was this year. I summoned, or rather I requested all the other commissions. I called upon National Gender Commission. I called upon CRA. I called upon the county, Judy, the executive officer, was very, very ready to help us. We went to Kisii County Assembly, and are sitting with the governor, and are sitting with the speaker, and are sitting with the assembly leadership. We had a mediation process that was carried out. At the end of the day, we agreed that the nominated members of the county assembly must be able to get the same privileges that the others were getting. And I believe up to today they are getting those privileges. This is not a standalone case. National Gender and Equality Commission had to go to court in Nakuru because there was a similar situation that was happening. Even when elections were done in 2017, when it came to nominations, the special interest groups were not properly represented. You'll find a 50-year man being nominated and being referred to as a special interest group. So is he representing the youth? Is he representing the vulnerable? Or who is he representing? When Gender Commission came in, they were able to settle that dispute. So you'll find that in those situations, the CAJ has had to come in and be able to provide an advisory that must be complied with by all the county assemblies in the Republic of Kenya, so that our sisters then would also have the capacity. Because if you are granted 3 people to serve in your office, you employ a researcher, somebody who is going to help you to bring motions, maybe to support the vulnerable in your community or to support various ideas that you believed in or that you participated in that enabled you to get nominated. So my dear sisters, this is not something that is easy. It's not a walk in the park, but we must do it. But what I believe is that if we come together as women, because we've been told we are the majority, and FIDA Kenya and the development partners are offering us the opportunity to be able to ventilate, to be able to speak to it. I thank God that UN, Mheshimiwa Millie Odhiambo, UN Mheshimiwa Alice Wahome, they have undergone what you call torture to be able to sit in that space that they have sat today. So it is not something that is not doable. It is doable. Even when you get to parliament, you'll find where you're being referred to as a flower girl. But having served in the 11th parliament, I can tell you for sure, if you want to be called a flower girl, you be called a flower girl. In parliament, we were able to originate the National Gender and Affirmative Action regulations that now supported the women representatives to get a fund. As we speak now, we have affirmative action fund that the woman representative would be able to move across the county, support the special interest groups, support the women groups, support each and every aspect of women to ensure that there is that political space of a woman is not taken away. So even as BBI was coming up, when I was speaking to various nominated MCAs, female MCAs, sorry, they were saying they want to vie. The enticing bit then, to answer Mheshimiwa Mumbi, was that within the BBI report, there was that the nomination of women was restricted to only those people who had vied or attempted to vie and lost. So there was that incentive that was moving them. And if anyone wants to vie, it is not just because they want to vie. It's not easy to make that decision. The moment you make that decision, you are ready to go for it. So now that it is not there, or I don't know what happens thereafter, we will still stick with what we have. We will still fight for that space because we have the Maraga decision. And we thank him for what he said, that if you don't comply with the two-thirds gender rule, then Parliament will be unconstitutional. That's a fact. It's the Constitution. I mean, we cannot apply the Constitution when it favors some people and also fail to apply the same Constitution when it doesn't favor other people. Or if it favors women, then it becomes a challenge. So what we are saying is, in the next elections, we should have enough women vying for constituency seats so that we have a compliant parliament. And if they are not elected, then they will have to nominate. They don't have a choice. Let us have the women voice being heard. Let us have, our institutions are there. In the last elections, the former commissioners in CAJ were able to look at how the members, the state officers, were using the state resources, because there was misuse of state resources. We are also going to check in 2022 how state resources are being used, because one of the mandate of the CAJ is to ensure that public resources are not expended for private gain. And that is a temptation that always comes when there are elections. We've done it before. We're going to do it again. Work with the IEBC, work with NCIC because of hate speech, and be able to ensure that what must be done to ensure that we have an equitable election, hate speech-free election, and gender-sensitive election happens in 2022. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kajuju. You've given us some direction, is what is going forward. I will call on, I think what you have done in terms of monitoring and holding institutions accountable is something GEC has also been doing, and thank God you've said about it. Winnie Lichuma will tell us a bit what they did and how they held those institutions accountable. Winnie, I'm ambushing you. You did some monitoring some time back. But before you come on, Winnie, there are two MPs who are online. And I would like to say a few words, maybe in about 10 minutes, 5 minutes each. Honorable Rosa Buyu in Kisumu. You are in Kisumu right now, or where is she? Rosa Buyu, you're online? If she's not ready, there's Honorable Lillian Gogo, MP for Rangwe. If you could share a bit about your challenges and strategies. Please, can we can't hear her. Pardon? Please unmute. I'm asked to, I've been requested to ask you to unmute. We can't hear you.
Hello, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello, good afternoon. Hello, good afternoon. This is Rosa Buyu, woman representative Kisumu County, and I really want to thank FIDA for offering women this opportunity to talk about women leadership, not just in politics, but in all the categories. And indeed, as has been said, this is the beginning of a very serious conversation. And as the woman representative of this county, I'm happy and thankful that you chose Kisumu as one of the hosting counties, because this is a political city. And the women here are raring to go, and the women here are raring to make the two-thirds gender rule a possibility and a reality in all our dimensions, whether in National Assembly or in the County Assembly and all the other dimensions. So thank you for this opportunity, and we are listening in. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rose. Thank you very much, Rosa Buyu, for those encouraging words, and we are grateful. We have Honorable Lillian Gogo.
Just give her 1 minute.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you very much, FIDA. I'm the Honorable Dr. Lillian Gogo, the Member of Parliament for Rangwe constituency in Homa Bay County. We've been following, and it's a very, very good conversation, a nice dialogue that has started. I want to thank the participants who have given us their opinion earlier. Here in Kisumu, we are gangari, we are waiting, we are following, we are alert, we are attentive. We have elected members, people who are aspiring. We have serious women leaders here. And I want to just, as a takeaway for today, just borrow from Honorable Kajuju's statement that we are now taking matters that are embedded in our constitution very seriously. And a parliament or any other government institution that is not going to be gender sensitive, especially in observance of the 2/3 gender rule, is going to be unconstitutional. So this is a debate that we should take and run away with and make opportunity for women. And I'm glad that women have chosen to come out and vie. And many women, as long as they have made that serious decision to come out and vie, they are already good leaders. So they need to be encouraged, and we are here for them, and we'll be there for them. They are going to ride on our back the way we also rode on our other people's back for us to be in a position where we are. Thank you very much. We are watching, following, and we are together. Thank you, FIDA Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those encouraging words and being in a position to give us words of advice. It's now our time to have, if we have any comments, if we have any questions, both here and others, and also for those who are following us virtually, if you have any comments to make. But one of the things that has come out is that this time round, institutions need to be held accountable. I think I heard that from Honorable Kajuju, I heard that from Honorable Ngaru, that we need to hold institutions accountable more than what we did. Winnie Lichuma, you were the chair of GEC at one time, and there was a monitoring process you did. Is it possible to actually hold institutions accountable?
Thank you, Commissioner Mavisi. Yes, I think, and the chair, CJ, I think, has alluded to it. What is important is that institutions must sell themselves out so that Kenyans know what they do. Because when I was at the National Gender and Equality Commission, we had a process of receiving complaints. And Kenyans knew that they would run to us. And the good thing is that the constitutional commissions have the mandate to process those complaints on their own, but they also have that mandate where they can go to court. So shaping the agenda, the women agenda from 2013 election, when we had the National Gender and Equality Commission, so many women occupied the seats. For example, in 2013, political parties, when they did do their nomination list, instead of putting the list for women as the top up, they put men as the first names. And we have cases we had to challenge in a court of law where IBC, in the course of nomination, end up picking a man instead of a woman. So clearly not meeting the 2/3 gender rule. It's unfortunate that like in 2017, we challenged the party list. And one thing I learned from it is that the courts are very powerful. The access to justice in this country is great. Courts had to suspend the list, and IBC had to be made to do the list afresh. So for women vying, please also have a look on the political party lists, because some of you may be stepped down from running with a promise that you'll be on the political party list. But the registrar of political parties here and the politicians here will tell you that list keeps getting changed every minute. So by the time people are running to us to come and tell us I was number 1 on the list, when we check the list, we find you are number 16. You are not even number 1. So clearly, women easily get shortchanged. But if you are vigilant, it will be your name and you ensure that you know when the list is being submitted. So went to court on the political party list, and that worked for us very well. Women came into the nominated list. Again, persons with disabilities. Remember, you are doing a zebra list. A man, woman. And here we also had to challenge. You remember the 2013 election where we had to step down one individual man in the Senate to a woman following the list, and here it was the mistake of IBC. The party had given man, woman. In their own wisdom, IBC then picked the man instead of the woman. And we went to court, and the ruling was that IBC had no role changing the zebra list. So when you do your tallying of the votes, and you know that this party has these numbers to give as nominated, IBC cannot skip one and go to number 2. The court said, go by the zebra list. That got one person knocked out, a man with disability, and a woman brought in. So clearly, what am I saying? I'm saying that constitutional commissions have powerful role in terms of litigating. And mediation, as she has said, now we have in court annexed mediation, is a strong way that these commissions can move in. And so we have so many cases. We did public interest litigation, and which all, in majority of the cases, were found in favor of women, persons with disabilities, and the youth. So let me just stop there for now because of time.
Thank you.
But something we would really want to engage in. Thanks.
Thank you very much, because that shows we shouldn't stop when we have issues as women candidates and say it is finished. When we finish at the political party, there are other institutions that can actually help us. And the CAJ here has actually promised, working with other commissions, they will really be on the lookout to ensure that women are not disenfranchised. I think that is what I'm hearing from you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, because I know there are gentlemen here, I just want to recognize Honorable Cynthia Mutara, MCA Busia. I think they are online. Honorable Edith Kaplich, MCA Kericho. Honorable Mishi Mayumbe, MCA Kwale. And Honorable Faith Boniface, Mombasa. We are recognizing you and we appreciate you joining us. Now, please, if anybody has a burning question for the registrar, she would like to go because there's something urgent she needs to deal with. So I would give the first opportunity for those who have any question for the registrar before she leaves. I think I'm speaking right. So for those who have any burning issue right now before she leaves, I can see one hand there. And if there's anybody online, please. Pardon? And Mombasa, then we'll have Mombasa. Let's have those 2 questions. Then she will tell us 1 or 2 parting shots before she leaves, just to see how we will get more women participating in next year's election.
Is Perpetua Mponjiwa. I vied in 2017 elections, and of course I'm still vying in 2022 as a member of County Assembly, Nairobi, Kileleshwa Ward, where we are right now. This is my ward. So I am excited to actually talk to Anne Derito because we've always just exchanged letters. So it's actually good that I am talking to her directly. I only have 2 questions about and the system. So when I'm talking about the structures, and you said the political parties should make sure officials they adhere to the 2/3 gender rule. So when the list of officials come to your office, how do you actually measure that this thing balances? Because we normally see majority of political parties, the chair is a man, the treasurer is a man, and the SG is a man. I mean, those are the positions we are talking about. We are not talking about deputy treasurer, political party, Western. Now it's part of the list that is being brought to you. Or head of regional, I don't know, part of the neck being brought to you. When we are talking about the structures, we are talking about the key positions that your office should make sure that at least a woman, one woman is part of is either a chairperson, an SG, or a treasurer. Those are the positions we are talking about. But if someone is a deputy treasurer, or deputy to the vice treasurer, or a vice to assistant treasurer, I mean, and the list is brought to you, and you say you are compliant, I think we are still lying to ourselves. Number two, when I come to the system and I talk about your system, Anderito, you know my case very well. I vied last time, I slept in a cell, I miscarried in a cell. You know my case very well because of gender violence. But I mean, that story aside, I'm talking about, I saw you made a system, it's called e-citizen, but when you look online right now, the system has gone and it's saying it's insecure. Because previously in your office, I would come and get my opponent out of ODM and take her wherever I want because she's my opponent. And the system or your computers at your office, it is so unfortunate that they could be manipulated. I'm happy right now that you have the e-citizen. Kindly make it work for us so that at least I know when I log into e-citizen, I am the only one who can change my political party. Because I've been told that I've been in so many political parties within a span of 2 years. And it's quite unfortunate that I wouldn't want to throw stones to you because you came a bit when the fracas were already in there. But I'm at least happy that you are making structures in your office, and kindly stick to it and let it work for us, the aspirants. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mombasa? There was somebody from Mombasa. Are you available? Where are they? Okay. Is the person there? Please, we can't hear you.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Now we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Grace Olo, Mombasa County. I also vied for the MCA, Chuda Ward, Mvita Sub-County. My first question was structural, which has been addressed by my colleague. My second question to the political registrar is, does the political registrar have mechanisms to address the issue of 15% that if it is not well utilized for the intended purpose? For instance, he said that for the marginalized. But most of the time, women in the political parties are not even aware about this fund within the party. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think you've had the two questions, and I just want to add to my sister's question whether you will take action against any political party that does not meet the requirement of having women as part of the structure in the management of the party.
Okay, thank you so much, and those are very important questions, and I'm really grateful even to my fellow panelists for raising very pertinent issues in regards to women participation, and especially so in political parties. Direct to the two questions, I know the case of Perpetua, and I know it's a conversation that went on for a very long time in court. And we really felt for Perpetua and what she went through in the name of, just because she wanted to vie in a seat. And that is one of the reasons, by the way, when I was thinking about, I came in when Perpetua's case was still on. One of the issue was actually about going around membership of a political party. And that's why it became very important to us to fix the question of membership, how a person joins and leaves a political party. And one of the reasons is because there's no biometric, just like the registration of IBC where you do biometric registration and then you join and then you do biometric probably to unjoin. In this case, it is person registering you using a form or a pen, and then you cannot be able to verify the authenticity of the signature. Who signs the form? Because we are not forensic auditors, and it is difficult actually to prove thousands and millions of forms. That's why we thought the best way to go is come up with a platform, and the platform is where you log in, you join a political party, or you opt out of a political party, and then be able to join the political party of your choice. That system is down because we are now making the system. It is right now that we are making the structures. What we did in the I think it was a month or so ago, was a pilot. We wanted to see when we collaborated with the eCitizen, whether that system is going to work, whether Kenyans will be able to check their membership, and whether the system is actually sustainable. And that is what we did for a period of 2 weeks, and Kenyans actually gave us a lot of feedback, which went a long way to improve what we are now supposed to do. The modules we want to create is where you have not only able to log in and check you inspect the register, but also change your membership if you so want. Of course, there are processes because you must be accepted on the other side. You give a notification to the party you want to leave and to registrar, so that we see this is the person who have logged in and he wants to leave this particular party. Then we give the party some period to log you out. If for some reason then they do not log you out, then we take the action. But it is you who is actually logging you out. And there's the audit trail. One of the reasons we had in the perpetuous case is the audit trail, whether we are able to create the audit trail. That audit trail of membership and how you are able to join and live in on your own volition then become very important to us. So why we are down is because we are now creating the system. Of course, the question of funding, and we are grateful to the government of Kenya for promising to support that initiative so that that system is up and running. We are working closely to train our staff and also then later to train political parties. But one thing I want to say, this is not a license to say, let people leave political parties. I always insist that political parties need support. And they need support, but voluntary support, coming from members who actually want to work and join those political parties. But there's a feeling around Kenyans that political parties actually, you should not. Indeed, one of the issues that we have been toying around with is the question of people feeling, actually I should leave political parties and remain. Majority of Kenyans want to remain partyless. But then who will actually support political parties if everybody want to remain partyless? We want people also to support willingly political, because governance and political parties are built by people. We have had this question of that political parties are owned by individuals. One of the reasons why particular members of our political parties have crowd is because the check and balances that is supposed to come from the membership of that political party is not there. And secondly, because the contribution of the ordinary members is also not there. We are in a situation, especially because it's our Kenyan culture, where we actually want to see what can a political party give you, instead of what you can do and support the political party. I think the question of support to political party is also very important. The question that you have raised, Perpetua, and has been corroborated also, the table of issues of a political party. You can only regulate a political party or any regulatory body, regulate within the law. And the law does not provide that there are particular positions which we should look at, whether they are owned or it's a woman or or a male sitting on them. The law as it currently is, until we change it, only provide that you look at the whole governing body. And the governing body is declared by the political party itself. It is political parties that tell us that our party has 14 positions. And our 14 positions, we have divided them like this. So when they divide, then we check whether it is meeting the 1/3 gender rule. So I think it's a question of legal reform, so that we change and say then the 5 important positions in a political party, maybe it should actually meet the 2/3 gender rule. But the law as it is started now, it's allow us to regulate the whole governing body, which is made of maybe 14, others 28, others 15, others 27, depending on the party constitution. So you regulate using the Political Parties Act and also the party constitution. The final question, I think, that was raised by the person from Mombasa is the question of fund. Political parties fund, and I said in the beginning, when the division is happening, we usually do according to 15% that go to special interest group, among other criteria which I may not discuss. But the question of how it is used, before we give money to a political party, we look at the work plan. A party must submit a work plan, and the work plan must speak to that 15% and how the party intend to use that 15%. And then we check whether the party, at the end of the financial year, the Auditor General come to check against the work plan, whether the party actually followed its own work plan. So because we are dealing with documents, and we are dealing with papers, when the papers confirm they actually have worked according to their work plan, then you have very little to do. If the Auditor General confirm and say, then the money was used according to the work plan. But we must also realize the Political Parties Fund has never realized the 0.3% as envisaged in the Political Parties Act. And it is a conversation so that when even we are saying a party like the 2 parties that are receiving funds is very little money actually. For the last very many years, it has never gone beyond 300 million. 300 million to a party that has a nationwide, and even if you are adding 2 parties, then it's 150 million, even if you divide by half. It's only this financial year we have seen, last financial and this financial year we have seen a bit of an increase, but it's still very far less than what is required, which is 0.3%. Probably if we meet that, the 0.3%, the influence and the impact of that money can be felt right at the grassroots and as where the money and the work plans of the political parties allow. But I take the sentiment, and I think it's something we need to zero down on, to try, especially at this particular time, to see how best women are supported using the political parties fund for the parties that are receiving funds, and even the other party structures, even those ones that are not funded. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I was told there are 2 burning questions in Kisumu and Nakuru and Kisumu. I don't know whether I want to take, but I wanted to ask you parting shots while we take other questions. You're about to go right now. Yes. Can I allow those 2 questions? She says, please, for those people in Kisumu and Nakuru, could you please just bring your questions? Our panelists here can also help in answering. It may be questions they're able to answer. Unfortunately, she's not able to stay with us. Any parting shots?
My parting shot is that given the data was given by Honorable Kajuju here, it corroborates, and I've always said that the more the candidates, the more the percentage of success. The more the women that have participated in election, the more they are likely to have more numbers being elected. Actually, it's corroborates. If, for example, you see 300 women coming on board, if it is 10%, even for men, it will be 10%. That means there's a silent correlation that goes that the more participation, the more people that come on board to vie for election, the more likely the numbers of those groups that are likely to be elected. So my request is that there should be as many women out there who are willing to vie, and be assured of our support. The Office of Registrar of Political Parties is geared towards supporting inclusion, and we shall support where we are called upon to support. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Please, I think we need to appreciate her. Don't you think so? Thank you very much for joining us, and thank you very much for encouraging us. And we know that as women, we can come to your office and we will find the help we deserve. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. As she leaves, I think the floor is still open for any questions, for any comments, either in this room or to our satellite office, areas where we are having our meetings. Any place? Nakuru? I understand we have a question from Nakuru. Is there any other region that is ready with any question, if you have? Is there another region? Meru, are you ready? The participants from Meru, are you ready?
Okay, Nakuru has fixed their sound.
So we're having Nakuru?
Yes. So I'm here.
Please go on.
Rito and Mheshimiwa Mumbi for this session. And my question is actually to all the panelists, the three ladies. And it is in light of the Vote Dada slogan that we are having for this conference, okay? Now, we know that for a woman aspirant, standing out on a public podium to speak to people, you need to appeal to men and women equally without looking like you want to talk to the women alone. So I wanted to know, is there something that FIDA or the women lawmakers can help us with, so that the women can actually vote for women aspirants more than it is now, knowing that we have the problem of patriarchal syndrome that affects many women. We think like some posts. I am Dr. Lois Kipkiror from Elgeyo Marakwet County, and I'm running for governor 2022. And I know what it means to ask this question. Because even women, my fellow aspirants for other positions who are thinking, okay, yeah, this is not the right time for a woman aspirant. There are people on the ground, even women, who think being a governor is not a job for a woman. So I wanted to know, is there something that lawmakers, women lawmakers, and FIDA can do to make, so it just doesn't stop at the conference. It goes to the, to the field, to the grassroots. They do a campaign for the grassroots so that women will appeal to women. Because if I do it personally as Dr. Lois, men will think like, okay, all right, you want to talk to the women? Check the women. And they don't vote for me. So I want everybody to vote for me, but I want the women to also vote for me more because I am a woman.
Which is the other place? Meru, and please, would you take a short time because of time? Would you just take 2 seconds to ask your question, please? Meru?
My name is Esna Sinyaramba, and I want to go straight to the questions, and I think 2 questions have already been answered. That is the political involvement of women. She has said very well that they are ready to support the women to come more, and she has already said to have more women vie, they will influence and they will support. Now, my first question is, most of the Kenyans or most of the people in Kenya find themselves in parties that they never registered or consented to be in. Honorable Kajuju being a victim of that. What is the political party doing to make sure other Kenyans or in the future, Kenyans are not going to find themselves in parties that they did not register? And if they find themselves in parties that they did not register, what actions will they take to these parties? Because sometimes it is indiscipline to pick somebody, take her to where she does not want or where he does not want. Then at the end of the day, you start struggling to deregister yourself from those parties. Number 2, we've been told that there's a lot when you talk about the 2/3 gender rule. We ran the campaigns, but at the end of the day, it is not managed. As we look at the government and the Parliament of Kenya, it is unconstitutionally those people are unconstitutionally in the office. What does the political please make sure the two-third gender rule is taken care of from the political parties' side up to the parliament? So I think I'll rest on those two because they are already answered.
Thank you very much. I think the rest of the regions, please write your questions. We will have them, and then maybe somebody else can speak to those issues if they're very critical. Now, Honorable Kajuju and Ngaru will give you an opportunity to answer the questions, and then just give your parting shots as you answer, and then the next person.
Thank you. Let me first of all begin by thanking our a lady in Nakuru who is going to vie for governor. I think that is the way to go, and we expect that in 2022 we are going to have more women governors taking those positions. So, lady, go for it. She's asked about when an aspirant, a woman aspirant, stands on the podium. You must be able to talk to the population. You must be able to talk to both the men, the women, and every other person who is a voter. And then how do you speak to that issue so that you are not just addressing the women, but you are speaking to the issues affecting the voters? For you to vie in whatever region, first of all, you must be able to understand the cultural diversity. You must be able to understand how the community behaves so that you're able to also understand the language you speak to them. Because my experience is that, first of all, you must be fluent in your vernacular language. If you're not fluent in your vernacular language, my sister, you'll be regarded as stranger. But then even within our communities, like if I speak to Meru, in Meru, we have the Tigania, we have the Egembe, and we have the Imenti. The way we speak in Tigania, because I'm Tigania, if I speak in the same manner in Imenti and pronounce some words, they are regarded as insults. So you must really be alive to your culture, be able to understand how you express yourself, how you're going to dress, because most of the times when you appear in a short dress, it becomes you're not electable. So you need to dress in the manner that the community expects you to dress. Also, there is the issue of connect to the people, because within communities there are challenges of water, there are challenges of hospitals, maternities, and when you speak to some issues, how you're going to ensure that you ensure there is legislation that supports the various community needs, then they're able to connect with you. So you must be able to understand the audience that you are addressing at any one given time. But then, we as the people who are on the other side, those who are not vying, those who are just supporting the processes, what can we do as FINDA? What can we do as development partners to get to the voters and do public sensitization? Can we do a lot of voter education for them to be able to understand that even the national government affirmative action fund is government money, is not a favor that you're being given by the politician. When CDF is able to give you classrooms, bridges, when governors are able to give you money for whatever purposes to build hospitals, it's not the governor's money. It's not the member of parliament's money. It is money from government that they have been given to be able to support members of the public. So for us, it's a challenge that I've taken for all of us who are in this room to be able to get there before we get into elections. How much can we do to educate the voters so that the voters vote in candidates who are going to make sure they meet their demands? On the issue of Meru, as I said, it is something that all of us have experienced, having been politicians at one point in our lives. So it's not something that just happens. You must have expressed some interest in politics. You must have some historical understanding of the politics within your area. So that now, at the end of the day, as you choose a political party, or because now we have the opportunity to be independent candidates, And personally, I would be encouraging even aspirants who want to vie. When you go into a nomination process, you expend all the resources that you have. And most of the times, you have no money left to go the last mile. So even if you go for as an independent candidate, having my experience in Meru doesn't look at, most of the times it doesn't look at parties. We get independent candidates elected. We get members of parliament elected from all the parties across the board. Whether it's ODM, whether it is a TNA then in 2013, they get elected. They get APK. We get all manner of people elected. So don't just shy away. Don't take it into your mind that you must belong to a political party for you to get that election, for you to get elected as a member of parliament. There are situations and circumstances within your community that you can still go as an independent candidate and get that vote. On the issue of the two-thirds gender rule, I think going forward with the Maraga ruling and with the Constitution, it is something that the next parliament must comply with. That not only the elections, but even the appointments, whether it is cabinet, whether it is constitutional commissions, wherever we have to get a representation of government, wherever we must get a candidate, then we must have the two-thirds gender rule complied with. So therefore, mine as a parting shot is to say that what matters is what we do at the grassroots. They say all politics are local. We can discuss things in this room. We can say everything and anything we want to say. But what matters is how we support the aspirants. What I would expect from FIDA Kenya and other partners today is for us to be able to pick, like our sister there who intends to vie as an MCA. Let us have a list of the women aspirants who intend to vie in 2022, especially governors. Why should we nominate 20 MCAs as women MCAs when we can have them elected in the first instance and save them the money that we get so many numbers in that county assembly? So going forward, we are ready to partner with FIDA Kenya, partner with our other development partners as CAJ to ensure that we support the processes to ensure at the end of the day we have a proper election. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kajuju.
In women representation. It's one thing to say you are vying, and it is another thing to be owned by the political party and to be owned by the ground where you are going to vie. I saw this one in Rwanda, where the political party is so strong and you are an actor in the political party, and the region where you want to vie, you have been constantly on the ground. It becomes easier. We have a problem in our country where we speak from Nairobi in conferences like this one, and back home, like Mheshimiwa Kajuju have said, you can't even speak in your mother tongue there. And it becomes a problem. So I would request especially the aspirants to look for the social influencers on the ground. It could be the church. It could be you are the women in the parents in the schools, your former networks as you are growing up, farmers who interact with you, traders and all those groups that compromise of voters on the ground where you want to vie. I have an example of a lady who was my colleague in Yala, who lived in Kigali. But when it came to now vying for a position in her constituency, She was escorted by the party machinery, and because she was still in touch with people on the ground, they received her very well, and it was like there was no competition. Why don't we try such strategies? The other strategy is that through FIDA, and I really thank FIDA for what they are doing, and I wish they can do more. Make small caucuses, not only in Nairobi. Go to the ground. First listen to the strong women on the ground so that you also invest on the strong women on the ground. Because once you are able to do that survey, and I did hear mention, I heard it, that CMD is somewhere in the room. And CMD used to do it with us. We went to the ground. We had 4 women. You are able to rate them. And then pick one of them and run with that one. It can be done. And my parting shots is that let's move. You've started very well. But so long as you are going to stay in Nairobi, so long as you are going to go just to the headquarters of the counties, concentrate on the governors, concentrate on the senators, we are going to lose it. I speak plainly. I started as a counselor. Those days they were called cajulers. Those who know. It has not stopped me from rising up to national level. Sometimes we are concentrated on the constituency level. We want to be an MP, but the space of the ward where you could be more effective, easily elected, we leave it to our oppressors, and I'm using that word respectively, who does not care where the water comes from, who doesn't care how many children are there who need bursary, and the like. Talk to yourselves, inside yourselves, caucus, and distribute yourselves to the wards. There is more space there. It is less expensive. Sit in caucuses. Identify 2 or 3 that you move up. I saw this strategy working in Rwanda. It has worked in Tanzania. You cannot, if you remember, there was an executive director of UNEP who lived in Nairobi. But already, back home, people had identified a constituency for her. And she went there. I don't know whether we are aware of such. And she is escorted by the party, and she wins. Let's learn a few more strategies that can take us there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think we have been challenged enough by the 2 ladies. 1, the strategies to use to go down to the ground, and 2, whether we can use parties or become independent candidates. So we still have opportunities for us to run as candidates in the next general election. I want to thank you very much for coming to be with us and sharing your experiences and your strategies and what we can do. And thank you very much for agreeing that we are going forward, working together with your institutions. So thank you and have a good evening.
Oh, a better round of applause really for our panelists. Thank you so very much. Allow me to invite you to invite our speakers to come to the ground. There's something I want to acknowledge. Perpetua, you spoke of an experience, of your experience. Let me allow you to come and take a picture as I speak. Please join us, Honorable Kajuju. And you spoke to an experience that we need to acknowledge. The cost on our bodies as women, the cost to our families, the cost to our friends, the cost to our communities. Honorable Ngaru, you spoke to this as well. The cost to your mother of the choice that you made and she chose to support you. The failings, and I call it even as a member of that institution, the failing of us as media people to speak of this cost. This should not be the cost for vying. This has to change. And I was really thrilled to hear the conversation on how do we hold them accountable? How do we hold people accountable? Thank you once again to our panelists. Now, I'd love to say that we have left the last for best, but it's not even true, because it's just getting better and better for you in the regions. I know you can't see me, but I shall appear, I was about to say like a thief in the night, but it's daytime. For everyone, even if you're in the regions, stand up for 1 minute. Stand up really quickly. It's an action. Come on, hurry up. Stand up, raise yourselves, stand up. There you go. Now, I know that you've been sat for a very long time, so stretch out. Stretch out. Yes, I'm doing it as well. Stretch out. Reach up. Did you ever do that exercise? Itamvua, yeah. And then stretch, reach out forward. Crackle your back. Reach out back. What was the other one? There was Ita Mama. Ita Dada. Excellent. Shake it off. Stretch in a national language. Oh, to one side. And then stretch in your mother tongue. Oi, 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 oi. There you go. Have a seat. Excellent. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Have a seat. Now, we come to the second to last item on our agenda for today, especially for you who are in the regions. But it's a continuation of this conversation. And we shall not tire to have this conversation because things must change. We cannot continue as we are, and the kind of thinking that has brought us this far, as powerful as it is, can take us no further. And these conversations are about challenging that thinking. And so I want to invite onto the stage Commissioner Lichuma, who will lead us on this, the last of our conversations from this venue. And you want to take out your pens and papers for this one. And please come up, Commissioner, and ask all of the questions that you need to of the very powerful panelists who have waited and who want to come and have a conversation around the issue of, let me quickly look at my, around the topic of processes and procedures in political.
Had a wonderful afternoon to add on what we had in the morning, and thanks retired Judge Mavisi for taking us through. And just appreciating our colleagues online. We are staying so connected. Thank you for staying the course. We now are getting into our last session. I want to begin by apologizing. We had hoped we would have it earlier. It is now after 5, but this session was programmed to last 45 minutes. And I want to assure you that these very informed colleagues have assured me that we will run through these very fast. So please stay on, do not leave. I think it's in your interest to know what the procedures are, especially the last mile, when things have not worked for you in your political party, when things have not worked with you from the IBC side. Where do you run? How do we resolve these disputes? So with me to go through these processes, our colleagues, Franklin Mukwancha, are you with us? Please take the podium as I introduce you. Franklin is exceptionally experienced in governance, political and electoral processes, policy influence, program management, and grants management. He has a keen interest in institutionalization of political parties, multi-party dialogue, gender equality, and women empowerment. Franklin, keep walking up as I introduce you. We want to see you. He's currently the Executive Director of the Center for Multi-Party Democracy, CMD, Kenya, And we know how CMD brings together all political parties that are affiliated to it, and is such a stronghold in terms of the leadership they provide in this country. Karibu, they promote democracy, promoting social justice, political governance, best practices, and human rights. So we are here to meet Mr. Mukwanja, and he also serves as a board member of the Global Partnership for Multi-Party Democracy. Karibu. I think we are so privileged to have you here. Can we put our hands together for him? Now, Honorable Sipora Kishana, are you here? Yes, Sipora, please be walking to the podium as I give you introduction. She's the CEO of the Judiciary Committee on Elections. Honorable Kishana has been a magistrate since 2012, and before that, she was a state counsel from 2006. She's passionate about justice, good governance, empowerment of all marginalized persons. She has a wide experience in the children's rights and welfare and land law. She has a law degree and postgraduate diploma in law, and she's currently an LLM student at the University of Nairobi. She's a sister, mother, daughter, and a friend. She likes hiking and nature. Wow, let's put our hands together for Sipora. Sipora, I think you joined the judiciary after I left. I served as a magistrate for 10 years. So happy to meet you. And Honorable Roslyn Aganyo. Roslyn, are you here? Karibu, Roslyn. She's the head of the Secretariat at the Political Parties Disputes Tribunal. She has a law degree from the University of Nairobi. And currently she's pursuing her master's. She has a diploma from the Kenya School of Law, worked as a magistrate for over 10 years. And during this period, she has been a deputy registrar and has worked and been a member of the International Association of Women Judges Association, the Kenyan chapter. She has experience with elections and governance, and in 2017, she was heading the Political Parties Dispute Tribunal Secretariat. We are happy to have you, Roslyn. And so we just get to our business, and I want to assure you this is going to be lively, and we will end on time to allow the participants time to go and rest. Now, I want to begin with you, Zipporah. We are looking at the role of the judiciary. Of course, you come at the tail end. And these processes have, sometimes they drag on for so long. But what I know is that in the last election, 2017, you tried to redeem yourselves in terms of the time management. What are some of the lessons you learned over the disputes that came before to the judiciary? And have you thought about how you can improve the timelines to even make it better? So you have, I'll give you like 7 minutes to sum up.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Commissioner Dichuma. We have interacted in other forums in the Kenya Women Judges Association. Yeah. So I appreciate meeting you again in this forum. And I also wish to thank you, FIDA, for the opportunity to be here and the opportunity to share and fertilize ideas with like-minded persons. So I've always held, and I think that is a truth that will also hold, that the election is really much of a political process as it is legal. We are only on the legal side, and like you have noted, we only come at the tail end. Now, you all know where this country has been from the time when nobody had faith in the judiciary. And so I think the judiciary has come a long way in trying to redeem our image from the time when nobody wanted to come to court. In 2013, we received 188 petitions, which we finalized within the 6 months that we are allowed by the Constitution. Come 2017, we had an avalanche of 389. So I want to think that it says something of the process and what our people have thought we are able to deliver. The judiciary has had to deal with many number of political questions including the 2/3 gender rule, which your commission has brought. And we have redeemed ourselves because we have made decisions that have been timely and which we hope will be enforced by the political leaders within the country. So the lessons we have seen or we have learned as we have gone by is how to make our processes open, in the sense that we want to make sure that wherever you are, you're able to file your election petition. I need not say that we have now 39 high court stations around the country. So in terms of access to justice, that was a lesson we learned, because we realized that a lot of our litigants were having to travel quite a distance just to get access to court. So we have increased the number of stations around the country. We have also we have come up with a number of registry and manual operations, operations manuals, so that now the system is seamless. What you should find in Nairobi is what you should also be able to find in any other registry, whether in Busia or Taita Taveta, or Garsen for that matter, or any other court that you go to. We are also working hard to ensure that if the corona situation prevails, you remember immediately after corona hit, we were forced to close the courts. But after some deliberations and of course working a lot of internal mechanisms and working hard, now we have e-courts. We hope that even if we have to deal with EDR matters when the corona situation is as it is, we'll also be able to handle them as e-courts. We have e-filing, which is still rolled out only in Nairobi and its environs. With time, and because we've been talking to our donor partners, and we have received a lot of promise that this can be done, is to make sure that all EDR courts around the country, come 2022, will be e-courts if they have to run as such. That, of course, will go a long way in increasing our ability to give access to justice for all persons, be they marginalized persons, be they women, or even be they the bigger electorate, the bigger group of our participants in this EDR process, the men. Access to justice is access to justice for everyone.
Honorable Sipora, let me just join in also.
Yes.
Thank you for that. We also have one issue that we had thought we'd put to the judge, but is not here, so you can take it up. The costs that the judiciary has put out there for people accessing justice. Really, we find most women and marginalized communities, persons with disabilities, are not able to meet the cost. Are you considering that would be something that your committee can look into and give us some guidance? Because a woman has run, she's spent all the money, she has no money to deposit. Same to the person with disabilities. How accessible can the courts be without the mandatory ceilings that are put by the court?
This is not a court-led decision, in the sense that courts of legislation, but of course we have a chance to speak to the policy makers and the legislative assembly that comes up with the laws to see if we can get variations on this. But even as we speak, the court has been very sensitive on the issue of costs. We have had, in 2017, there was a challenge. There was a matter that was filed by a gentleman in Bomet, and I remember the issue of deposit for costs. Actually decided his matter because his matter was thrown out for having failed to deposit the 1 million shillings required in costs. So what I can tell the interested parties, what I can speak to political parties, and anybody who is speaking in this forum, is that our women and everybody who is interested in these political parties needs to be aware. Please do your due diligence. Be aware of what the law is. Because as the matters stand now, there is already a decision by the High Court that without the deposit of the 1 million as security for costs, the matter cannot proceed. So please come prepared. As we said, this is no walk in the park. But also, having said that, I also want to take note that the judiciary, in fact, has taken a lead in this matter. Because in making decisions on matters costs, the court on its own move decided that they are going to cap all matters of costs in matters of EDR. We have had a number of decisions in the High Court that said that costs, and we all know that these are expensive matters to run because you must file within a certain time. The bulk of documents that you need to review before filing are quite a number. So when we talk of fees that advocates or lawyers would claim from their clients, it is no small money. But the courts have come up clearly and have said that these costs will not be used to deny justice to some people. And so many of the decisions were that they are capping them to from 1 million to 2 million. I will tell you that advocates who are paid to represent their by their own clients are paid way more than this costs. And because courts are keen on ensuring that we do not deny justice, or this does not become also another way of pushing out people who have no means, then the courts have been capping the costs. This has gone on all the way to the Court of Appeal. There is a matter, the matter of Honorable Martha Karua against the governor of Kirinyaga. That one too, when it went on Court of Appeal, where the High Court had allowed cost of 12 million, the Court of Appeal overturned that, and they said that this will now be used as a way of pushing litigants out.
Okay.
So the court is aware, and the court has already been doing a lot about it.
Just hold on your thoughts. We'll come back to you.
Thank you.
Franklin, I want to throw you in. CMD, we know that you bring together quite a number of political parties. And we are again headed to the 2022 elections. A few things are not yet streamlined in terms of policy legislative framework on the side of political parties. We even had the fund law being suspended. Are you confident that parties are ready for this election? We need a mic? Okay, thanks.
Thank you. First, I would want to sincerely express my gratitude to the leadership of FIDA for inviting me for this discussion. I deliberately came here very early in the morning to be part of the conversation. As much as I had a full in-tray, I chose this as the best workplace for me today because it's not the issues of gender and particularly women in public leadership is not a by the way for me growing up as a child and also having been mentored into my position by a woman whom I hold in very high regard, the former CEO and the founder CEO of the Center for Multiparty Democracy, Madam Jerika Beberi. So for me, it is very deliberate to come in here, to listen in the conversation, so that I can be able to pick the needs that the women have going into the electioneering period. Having said that, are political parties ready for the 2022 election? Political party institutionalization is a progressive agenda. And we cannot say that we will be going to the elections of 2022 with the same institutions that possibly 10 years ago in the general elections. Since the new constitution, we have had real critical attempts to make sure that political parties are functioning as proper public institutions. To that extent, I think we need to give ourselves a pat in the back because we've done well. In terms of specifics, it is not generally a political party problem. I think it's a cultural issue that we have to confront as Kenyans. Political parties are by definition, reasonably, private members' clubs. At the very bottom level, if we do not emphasize on membership of these political parties, then they will remain briefcase entities that they are. I keep on asking, why is it that the well-meaning, reasonably educated Kenyans have sufficient time for everything else other than their meaningful involvement in the political parties? I mean, whom do we expect to make that political party functional, representative, inclusive, professional? It is us to be able to do that. So our absence in the political parties, because of the way we have cultured ourselves as a bad place to belong, makes the political parties' growth very slowly.
Frankly, maybe I bring you. We have the Katiba Institute case.
Yes.
That clearly did indicate that the two-third gender rule will be met through the political parties. Could you maybe give us your thoughts in terms of what your member parties are thinking in terms of how they are going to realize the two-third gender rule on their part in terms of the list that they're going to take to the registrar of political parties?
Thank you.
Do you think we shall meet the two-third gender rule through political parties?
We should meet, but I am afraid that it's a long shot because of the reasons that I have adduced. The ruling by the High Court out of the Katiba case, Institute case, is a critical one. And the only way to address, the only feasible way, in my estimate, to address the issue of gender parity in our political representation is through the political parties. As CMD, we are doing two things. One is building the capacity of the women to understand the functioning of political parties. There are individuals in the political parties that hold no title, and Honorable Mumbingaru knows this. They hold no title, but they are called gatekeepers. Unless women understand how to navigate their politics around the gatekeepers, it is almost impossible to make a mark. The second aspect that we are handling this is the issue of the number of women. The registrar was seated in this seat, and her point was very clear, that the number of women that offer themselves for elective office, a good percentage of them are elected. If you look at our 2017 party primaries analysis, you realize that there were no enough women. So leave alone the quality of women representatives. In any case, we don't have any better male quality in our politics. Just ignore the issue of quality. Look at the issue of quantity. Jubilee, which was the largest political party in 2017, only managed to attract 15% of the number of women that were interested in their ticket. ODM, the second largest party, 11%. All right? So if at party primaries, we cannot get to the 33% threshold, then how do we expect to get the number of women elected? So our second idea is, how do we ready the number of women that are going to contest? And those ones that I have been mentioning virtually, and even here that I am going to contest for office in 2022, please come to CMD, let us be able to work with you so that we support you, build your capacity to be able to go through this process. We believe that in terms of handling the issue of number of women, we must be able to deliberately get them. They are all over in the private sector, in the church, in the professionals. Why is it that these women are not willing to show up on the table? It is not their duty. It is our duty, like some of us picked by women leaders, to be able to nurture us into leadership responsibilities as we hold today. It is also our responsibility to go scout for these women and encourage them that what you are doing in your chama at the marketplace is good enough, quality enough to be an MCA, and let us support them to be there. As long as we don't have the numbers offering themselves for elective positions, we will not be able to meet the threshold, as much as we deal with the intra-party system failures that then make it difficult for the women to thrive in the political parties.
Thank you, Franklin. I hope we are all listening, women wherever we are. The numbers that vi translate into the numbers that eventually get voted. Last for you, and very brief, I want to bring this to you. Coming in where Honorable Sipora did leave us, it is clear that they are ready to go virtual. Now, FIDA has had a very good practice where they have supported during the COVID period by setting virtual centers in the FIDA 3 offices so that they are able to engage women who then need to access courts in more matters. Now, coming in from the civil society side, do you think that is something FIDA must try and get other organizations to buy in, so that we have many organizations, CMD might have their virtual centers in some counties, so that all counties then go virtual in terms of helping the women persons with disabilities to access justice, either through the courts or through the tribunal? Do you think it's a good practice?
I think that is quite innovative. And you cannot underestimate the influence of the digital space going into the 2022 elections under particularly the current COVID-19 circumstances. And it is possible that FIDA will share circles in various civic actors' movements. Possible that we work collectively together so that we can be able to push some of these innovative ideas. Where I work in politics, there is no copyright. So it's as long as it is something good, let them allow these organizations to copy, paste, and be able to do this work in a way that supports the women agenda in this country. I strongly support that, and I believe it is a good way, because we cannot ignore the effect and the impact of technology as we go forward under the COVID-19 circumstances.
Thank you, Franklin. I'll be getting back to you. And now, Rosalind. We know that the tribunal is central in Nairobi, but the issues women are bringing on the table go beyond Nairobi. And the aspect of access to services function that should be devolved, especially for women, persons with disabilities, the youth. I am in Turkana. I feel I have been treated unfairly. This is a matter within your jurisdiction. I have no transport to get myself in time to the tribunal. Has there been, first of all, adequate awareness raised about the tribunal, number one? And number two, are there processes now ongoing that can also make the tribunal accessible to all Kenyans in all regions, if not all regions, virtually? Karibu.
Thank you very much. Once again, I'd like to thank FIDA Kenya for setting up. Is the microphone okay now? Yeah, I want to thank FIDA first of all, because this forum is timely, and for us, we appreciate, because it's something which we have planned to do for a while. For public awareness, I can say that there's still much to be done. We are working on our FAQs, frequently asked questions. As I was saying, there's still a lot to be done about public awareness. We are working on our FAQs, the frequently asked questions. We are also working on our publicity documents. These are things which we normally used to do with our donors, but currently with the corona, which has affected such activities, we are struggling with it. We are developing our content to share with the public. So it's something which is ongoing. We will do our public awareness stints. We will have media engagements. We are planning to have those. We have done pullouts, but we need to do extensive those pullouts in the newspapers and other magazines where we think our stakeholders will be, so that
we are planning to really have the public know about us, because the timing is crucial, and it's important that people even know where to find us. On the issue of devolving to other areas, this is a conversation we began in 2017, when we really wanted the legislation to assist us with the having the devolved hearings. During that time, we had even accented to proposing to have ad hoc benches. Unfortunately, the law reform did not happen, so that we went back to the drawing board. What we are now doing currently, since Corona came in place, we have embraced ICT. Our matters are being heard virtually. And in our last bar bench meeting, we had a feedback that it was excellent performance, because our stakeholders' feedback was that it was working very well. Because we even had people from as far as Nyahururu and other jurisdictions who attended the bar bench virtually. So it's something which we hope will roll out to other areas. Though ICT ideally doesn't wait for anybody to really ask you to join us from any corner of Kenya. But we can also say that we have identified regions. We have identified the former 8 provinces as regions where we are going to have set up our registries in the various areas around the country, so that once matters are filed by litigants in those registries, we are notified and we organize to the hearings, depending on the request of the parties. If parties are not able to come to Nairobi, then we will organize for the bench to travel and hear the matters there. Otherwise, we will embrace hearing of matters through virtual platforms, which has so far worked very well. Also, we can say that we have encouraged using other ICT equipment such as screens, which we hope that even with support of our development partners, we could set up screens. As you know, that during election times, we have party representatives who come with supporters to the various hearings. And it would be good to have them sitting somewhere where they can watch proceedings from somewhere, so that we don't have disruptions, and at least people will be satisfied to see the proceedings going on. We also encouraged that we could have booths whereby we have customer care desks as well, where the customers who are not ITC savvy, who might not have even the smartphones and the gadgets, who might need assistance, may get assistance to those booths, so that they're able to lodge their matters and have their matters registered and transmitted to us for assistance.
Thank you.
Yes.
What is the role you share with the IBC? How are you dealing? Because I know last you had an MOU. It may work well, but have you thought about moving this into a legislative framework?
Okay. The 2017 MOU worked very well then, and it's something which we have been engaging on. And unfortunately, with the BBI put us on hold, because there's a ruling which really touched on the operations of IEBC. Thus, it's something which we are ready to pick once the dust has settled. Okay. So it's a conversation we are going to have. It's something which we've been talking about.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, there we have the panel, and they've given us the views. Could I open it up for any comment or question? Inside the room, anybody with a comment or question? Yes, and please make it very brief. Don't give stories. These are quite our learned colleagues in the court, the tribunal, and CMD. Just go to the question because of time. So we'll have our sister there ask a question. Any other question in the room? Okay, then thereafter I will rely on the IT to let me know if anybody is up. Okay, Mary is ready. Okay, so yes, Dada, you have the floor. Tell us if maybe you note the questions and then you can give us responses.
Hello, sorry, my name is Perpetua once again.
Oh, Perpetua.
I have a question to Rosaline Anganyo, the CEO Political Parties Dispute Tribunal, Or maybe it can also go to Zipporah, Gishana, whoever comes. I was asking, is there a way to cap the processes of the pre-election cases in court? What I mean by this is, for example, an MCA who has a case from the IDRM, which is the internal dispute resolution mechanism in a political party, then goes to PPDT, then is taken all the way to High Court. The matter goes all the way to the Court of Appeal. I mean, is there a way of just an MCA, you cap it to, especially on pre-election matters, up to maybe, let's say, PPDT or High Court? I'm sorry.
Thank you for being very brief. Please note the question, so you just come back once to respond. Okay, colleagues from Meru, hi, we can hear you. Can you have your question? And please just give us one question. Meru.
Good evening. My name is Valentine Nyagote from Isiolo County, and I come from an organization called Pastoralist Gender Initiatives. And my question is, the elephant in the room is the party primaries, because in the party primaries, that is where women get rigged out. And when they go to the tribunal, most of them do not know the mechanisms of the tribunal or are not knowledgeable on the evidence to present. So I think that is an area that maybe the panel can address. Thank you.
Thank you, CMD. Maybe you'll respond to that. Kisumu? Kisumu, we are ready for you. We are ready for you.
I can go on.
Yes, please. We are ready for
My
you.
name is Caroline Ogot from Kisumu County. This is rather open, not particular, but if CMD would respond to this. There is the issue of not really embracing the politics, not getting to know the politics within the political parties, or we simply adjust and take whatever role we have been given. And right now we can see coalitions are getting formed. We have talks that I believe that women are part of, and if there is any, then it is a minute percentage. My question is, as women, we all know that men meet in the night. They meet in clubs, in pubs. And as a woman, and I want to be part of these coalitions or part of the agreements that are going on. We remember we have our cultural aspects, we have our social standings, we have our religious aspects as women. I'm a mother, I'm a woman, I'm everything that is around a woman. And you also know how some of the media houses have also handled us. So how do I get myself in this? How do I part of this?
You are muted. Could you unmute yourself? Or is she unmuted or the line?
Come morning, we speak in the evening like now.
Okay.
Come morning, things have changed. We see the men taking pictures, they're all male, it's a male affair.
Please summarize.
And as women,
Please summarize your question.
Put to task.
Summarize
is there
your
a way
question.
we can put the political parties, especially the political leaders, through the help of organizations to put them to task so that whatever has been passed and we don't agree with, then we simply don't embrace it. And we can mobilize women to say no to this.
Okay,
it is
question
a long
noted.
Shot, but it can be done.
Your question is noted. Thank you. Any other site that is ready? That's all? Okay, thank you. So CMD, you have the floor.
All right, it's fine. Great. I'll go straight to Valentine on in Meru on party primaries. It is true that the biggest challenge that we have in this country is the party primaries. It's at that level that we begin to foment violence. It is that time that all the available mistakes that you can ever do as a country in regard any injustice that you can commit against our democracy that happens. We have since 2017 been having a discussion as a sector, and this is led ably by the Register of Political Parties, formulated a political parties primaries policy and bill. Interestingly, again, the male folk played on us, and in the middle of fine-tuning this process, one senator that has since left Senate, and I'll not mention names, picked it up, watered it down, and took it to the Senate. So we have to go back to the drawing board and see how do we help fix the party primaries. And one of the significant things that we want to do is to discuss this as a possibility of being a money bill to go through the National Assembly, to make sure that part of the money that the political parties fund, the 0.3%, we have a share that political parties can utilize to prepare for the party primaries. What does that do? It gives us as an opportunity as taxpayers to be able to ably challenge those processes. And in the way Kenyans, we have our capitalist mindset a little bit highly tuned, we know very well that then we are investing in this process. So we will be keen. We want to use your taxes so that we can create interest from you and in you, so that you can be able to participate in these processes and demand that they function well. So that is one effort that we are doing in regard to the party primaries. As well, we are working closely, as the Political Parties Disputes Tribunal is an outside venture for the political parties. Our keenness is on institutionalizing political parties. So we are therefore keen on strengthening the internal dispute resolution mechanisms for the political parties, because the law is clear that you have to exhaust the internal dispute resolution mechanisms before you get out there. And if you appear before PPDT without doing this, then you dismissed. But then internally, political parties have very functional disciplinary committees, but not internal dispute resolution mechanisms. I think issues that we are talking about are not about party disciplinary issues. They are issues of fairness, issues of accountability in decision making, issues of inclusivity, issues of transparency, that the processes have to be looked into through a clearly established system. And that is what we're looking at. For Caroline, women in political parties not having the heartbeat of the party, I think this is a mentorship issue. And I don't think if you are a young or keen, you can, I think you call it in the women movement, handbag carriers. I have seen many young women flourish by merely being handbag carriers of the likes of Honorable Martha Karua was here in the morning, the likes of Charity Ngilu, and they're there because they are mentored and they learn how to be able to be present at midnight, but you're at home. So this is something that we have to look at. The issue in politics is twofold. One is that you are either going top down, and therefore you can be part of the gatekeepers, but money bags. And therefore you will capture the eye of the party leadership, because you can oil the events of the party and you can be looking. You have to hold the party stranglehold at the grassroots. I was very encouraged in the morning by the MCA from Line Saba. The party cannot avoid you because you are either causing them trouble or making them look good on the ground. So please increase your value proposition by working on your grassroots if you do not have the pocket. And as well, we know very well the required finances in this country to do politics is not minimal. Women have cultural challenges around access to, control over, and utilization of financial resources, including family money. So they are not privileged. And unless we also go into the third area that we're working on a CMD with other partners, including TI, Election Observation Group, whose chair is the CEO of FIDA, and the other, constitutional governance organizations. We must be able, and I'm asking the women lawyers in this room, the question of campaign financing cannot wait again. Because if we allow the illicit money that mostly belongs to the male folk to flow in our political bloodstream, women will not have an opportunity to be elected. How? I think we have to do two things. One is that we need to delink the debate on the Election Campaign Financing Act from IEBC publishing spending limits, because Article 88.4I is very clear that that is a clear function for the IEBC to publish spending limits. How has that to do with the Election Financing Act that was there in 2013 and we were given stories? We packed it. It was there in 2017, given stories, packed it. There is the amendment to the Election Campaign Financing Act of 2020. Has Parliament done anything about it? I think the women leaders need to mobilize their fellow women MPs. The women professionals like advocates have to pick up this matter, challenge these matters in court, because the only way you can get more women accessing political power is through controlling expenditure, questioning where the money is coming from. I don't think my mother has illicit money because she's feeding her own children from it.
Thank you, Franklin. I think that is a very good challenge to the women in the House. The law is there. Keeping on suspending it will not help us. Confusing it with the IBC limits that have been published will not help us either. Thank you. Now, the last question I want to throw to both the judiciary and the tribunal. She has left, but still we can benefit from the response. Maybe she's logged on online. Is there a way that you can curb the litigation process that comes from the party dispute all the way to the court of the Supreme Court or something like that? What can be done? So as you answer, Rosalind, you will also give us your parting shot, and then Sipora will take and give us the parting shot, and then we'll end the session. Over to you, Rosalind.
I agree that litigation must really come to an end. And of course, it benefits no one if litigation goes on throughout one cycle to the other. So that when somebody who has been having a dispute from the date of election still proceeds to have that dispute to the next election. So this is a conversation which has been going on. And for sure, through the various forums, we've had our stakeholder engagements. And there has been proposals to have the various categories of the elections, like the party primaries to a particular level, to appeal to a particular level, and the other office holders as well to appeal to a particular level, so that it doesn't have to go to the Supreme Court, and to have the higher offices like the presidential, the governor, be the ones that are either at the High Court and all the way to the Supreme Court. So I believe that conversation has been going on, and it's something which we can have a good feedback on before the next elections, on how the structure would be once the directions are publicized. I want to also say that let women not be afraid to approach PPDT, because PPDT has a complaint form which is very simple, and it is user-friendly, which we are thinking of revising to be even more simpler. So it is something which people should not really fear to file matters at PPDT, thinking that the process is so technical. We have in the past even received applications into us. So we are not ready really to throw out matters because of technicalities. So once a matter is filed in PPDT, it will be dealt with on merit. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Honorable Zipporah.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. What I'd like to say is that by and large, the judiciary, through the JCE, has tried to do its job. We are still lagging behind politically. But I'm not saying that we are perfect. And even the issue that my colleague, Honorable Aganyo, has raised is one that was also bothered us. From the internal political party dispute resolution mechanism, they moved to PPDT. We want to cap it at High Court. But as you all know, lawyers are very smart. We must earn our keep. And present it on another bench. Couch it as something else and find a way to get to the Court of Appeal. So this is also something that we need to be aware of so that even as we instruct counsel, we know what the law provides for. I also want to request civil society and all those who are interested, please speak well of the judiciary. As you have seen, a lot of our funds has been cut back, but so far I can tell you without fear is that we are working and we are working well. Lastly, please give us feedback. We are the JCE, we help to prepare the judiciary on elections. If there are things, because we try to cover all our bases, but if there's an area you particularly feel that has not been covered, Commissioner Lichuma, I know you might not be able to reach many of us because we are magistrates and we don't want you calling us. Talk to Commissioner Lichuma, she's a friend and also a good partner. Talk to FIDA, tell them this is something we need to be resolved and we think you can put in a word for us. So thank you so much for the support, FIDA. Thank you so much, our women political aspirants. Thank you so much, those who have gone before. I always admire them, and I think that we have a lot to learn from them. And I encourage for mentorship, not just in this sphere, but in all spheres of life. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Joining me in thanking my panel. I think what a nice way to conclude the session. The judiciary, the tribunal are open. Who wants to work with us? So as FIDA, I think let's package the other women organizations. Let's package anybody working, promoting women and elections, and speak with one voice. There are aspects we need to clear with the law. There are aspects we need to clear with the policy. There are aspects we need to clear with the guidelines in terms of how this is done. They are open. What a good way for us to engage. Asanteni sana. So back to, we may step down and take a photo down here.
And thank you very much. Once again, a round of applause for them. Really, this is our last panel this evening. Oh, put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, surely. Thank you so much. And you too, wherever it is that you are. Please join us at the front for some photos. And while they do, really just a number of announcements and a vote of thanks. First of all, really to say thank you very much to everyone who has participated today. Thank you to you in the regions for having stayed until this time. Thank you very much to the Honorable Martha Karua for that wonderful speech, and thank you to each one of our speakers today, Maureen Machiwa and Joseph Kimani, Lucy Githaiga, Rukaya Mohammed, Rahab Moya, the Honorable Esther Pasaris when she did arrive, the Honorable Gadoni Wamshomba, of course our chairperson at FIDA, Nancy Ikino, and like I said earlier, our chief guest. Thank you also to each one of the panelists and to our wonderful moderators. Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you to do something. Please give a round of applause to our moderators. Haven't they done an amazing job? They've been absolutely incredible. Thank you so much. Now, because of the time, for those of you who are in the regions, we will not go into the session this evening to allow you to get home on time. So the session that was planned for this time will not proceed. Instead, we will start again tomorrow morning, promptly, Swiss time, at 8:30, and we will run through our agenda then. I wish you a very good evening. Travel safe, keep well, and tomorrow morning at 8:30, we start again. Thank you very much. Good night.
The time has come for women leadership national and county levels. Young, old, minority and marginalized women, women with disabilities, women in the grassroots. Wakati ni sasa, kauli ni moja, vote Adada.